Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. I have often said that having a coach, a life coach, is so important. Yes, therapy is fantastic. Friends are great. Family is great. But a coach is really going to set you on the course for greatness, offer accountability, and get you where you need to go. I've got somebody who is very different in such an amazing way, and they call her the self-care guru. And these are two things that I talk about a lot that are so important: coaching and self-care. You need both, and she helps you with that and so much more. She is Millionaire Williams, and she joins us on the program today. Welcome. How are you?
I am phenomenal. I use that P word to describe myself no matter what's going on in life, because you know what? You cannot allow the external forces of life to just drop you down, take you down. And sometimes if we get down for a minute, it's okay to be there for a minute, but you can't camp out there, Steve. That's what I tell my clients. Yes, things happen to us. We don't want them to happen, but life happens to everyone. I don't care how much money you have, how much money you don't have, and who you are, what degree. It doesn't matter. Life shows up for all of us. And my place as a life coach to my clients is helping them to navigate through the processes of life that come about. That's like, I don't want people to stay stuck, Steve. That's the problem. When you stay stuck, that becomes an issue.
Yeah. Your company is Effectua Life Coaching. And one thing that we're going to center on today, and this all is under the umbrella of self-care, mental health. Now, there is a mental health crisis going on right now, as reported by the CDC. Not making it up. Google it. We're all dealing with it. And if you're not personally dealing with it, then, well, actually you are, because you probably know someone who is challenged by some mental health situation, be it anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. Why is that going on? I don't know. Maybe it's an offshoot of COVID. What are your thoughts on that?
Steve, you are spot on. I've shared with my husband when COVID first started. I said, what I'm really afraid of is to see our country 5 years after COVID, the after effect of what it means, of what we've all gone through, and not just the United States of America, but this is a global pandemic that hit every country. And so, it hit us in such a way that no one was prepared, and when things come across in life and when it hits you, it knocks you, it shakes, your foundation, and you're not prepared, that really is a traumatic situation that people are confronted with. And so, researchers are still studying the field of medicine is still studying the effects of COVID, from the physical, but also there's a mental component that a lot of people are dealing with. And, these things were even told to us when the kids were going to school online, and now they're thrust into this whole nother narrative of their lives, and parents weren't, prepared to deal with their kids now being home every day, helping out with, them dealing with the anxiety, the depression, the isolation, all the things that have come as a result of it. And we're still dealing with the aftermath in such a way that, I was sharing with my husband the other day, it's like everybody needs a life coach, everybody needs a therapist, everybody needs counseling. I mean, we've all been affected one way or the other. I even had a family member in New York that died of COVID. So, even if you've not had a loved one that you've lost, it's been a lot.
It's the things you don't even think of. Like we talk about social media, and what an oxymoron, social media. But
Right.
what's going on now is the offshoot of COVID, isolation. One example, young men in particular, are lonely. They feel isolated. Who would ever think? You'd think, a bunch of guys in their 20s, 30s, whatever, hanging out with your buds, having a great time. Nope. And then the biggest demographic of the mental health crisis right now, teenage girls. You would think.
Yes.
You would think
Yes.
social media is actually, in my opinion, to blame for a lot of that because they isolated during COVID and they
Yes.
stayed in that. And I think a Generation Z, it's a big thing now. It's stay at home. I forget what it's called. Not camping at home. There's a term
Right.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a whole new vocabulary that's been
Yeah,
developed out of all of these sensations that have occurred
sure.
for the entire country. And, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, are we still on Earth, or have we, like, Scotty has beamed us up somewhere and we don't know where we're at? I mean, everything is just so different for us. And you can't keep the same mindset that you had prior to COVID because you've got to pivot some mental mindset here. I have a program that I developed called the Millionaire Mindset, go figure. But, your mindset has everything to do with keeping you grounded and keeping you holistic in life and keeping you whole.
Mm.
And, there's so many things that people need to do. And it's really changing how you live in order to survive in all of what we're dealing with. And it can be very simple things, Steve, that I even tell some of my clients. You know, I tell people, okay, 70% of your body is made up of water, a fluid, okay? And you have to stay hydrated. Real simple thing. But if you become dehydrated, it can be a really big thing, okay? Dehydration is not a good look on your body, on your system. And so drinking water is something that's just so minimal. And I tell people, always have a glass of water, even when you're in a podcast. Yeah, got it.
Thank you for that reminder because
Yeah,
as you're saying it, I'm thinking to myself, you didn't drink enough today.
right.
We don't
Yeah.
realize the impact. It's number one. I mean, we can pivot here and go over everything here, but everybody wants to look great. You don't drink enough water, your skin doesn't look good. You start
Oh,
looking more wrinkled, brain fog. You can't focus. You're irritable. You're grouchy, on and on and on, just from not drinking enough water. How crazy, right?
and you can get a headache, a
Yeah.
severe headache
Yeah.
from not drinking water. So it's like something as simple and intentional as drinking water.
Yeah.
In my bedroom, I have a beautiful basket that has water bottles. And when I get up in the morning,
Hmm.
I'm like, 112 ounce has got to go down before I even leave the bedroom.
What a cool idea. Huh.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I don't want to cut you off, but
No, no, no. Go ahead.
I have this visual. It almost sounds like a nice hotel room.
Yeah.
We have complimentary water in a
Yeah.
basket. But what I'm going with that is it's almost back to the word, the M word, the mindset. It
Yeah.
almost is if like, oh, I just treated myself to a bottle of water. It doesn't sound like a
Yes.
big deal, but the mindset is that basket, I'm going to reach for it. Just like when you're in a hotel room and you see the water, I'm going to reach for that. I felt
Yes.
it gave me something. Well, you just gave yourself something.
Good. Yeah. And I mean, just little things. I've even started, my husband put together a gym in the garage. We just had a home built a year and a half ago. We're here in Texas. So it's a beautiful home. And so I had the biggest struggle getting out there because, still fixing everything in the house. And
Sure.
I love beautiful things, as you can see in my backdrop there. That's my living room over there. But, even simple things as, because we have a routine here. I do the dinner. I'm like this new chef. Love the island here that I have to cook in the kitchen. So we love our Netflix in the evening and we sit there. But I've got weights there, Steve, right there. So as I'm sitting, I'm still lifting weights, just sitting watching TV. Again, something so small, but it's a constant thought process of keeping the mind, the body healthy in ways, small ways, and you pivot and it creates a self-care process on a daily basis. Just little things. Another thing that I do when I'm in my admin mode in my office and I'm sitting there, I have meditation music playing in the background all the time. So when I'm at home and I've got an office here at home, it's got to be that peace in the household. When you get outside of your door, there's a lot going on. And, my husband, he's a former Marine. He served 27 years in the Marine Corps. And there's a thing in the Marine Corps, keep your head on the swivel. When we're going out nowadays, you really have to be mindful of what's going on, not to the point that you're just paranoid and looking around like, oh my God, what's going on? But again, self-care,
Mm,
situational awareness is what it's called. When you're outside of your home, you need to be mindful of some of the things that are going on. Whereas before, years ago, we didn't really have that to the degree that we need to be mindful today. So these are just a lot of tips, a lot of things that you can do to create more of that self-care. Saturday mornings, I get up in the morning, I do a full bath. I'll have a glass of wine, or I'm going to do coffee, or I'm going to do water. I'm going to do my cheese and crackers, grapes, or whatever. But I take the time to manage at home self-care to ensure that Million is the best Million she can be when I wake up each day. Another key critical, your rest,
mm.
your sleep patterns. Oh my God, another biggie. I am the type, I'm A-type plus personality. I will put my hands up, I'll surrender to the cause. So knowing that about myself, Steve, I am the type of person, I have to ensure that I get my proper rest every night because I expend so much energy during the course of a day. So, and I tell people, get a sleep pattern, not going to sleep 1 o'clock tonight or in the morning, 9 o'clock the next night, 10 o'clock, you're all out. No, your body needs to have synchronization. There is what's called REM sleep, where you have rapid eye movement is what that acronym stands for. And that's where the body gets to replenish and rejuvenate the cells in your body. So you may lay down and quote unquote call yourself going to sleep, but if the mind is racing, your body still is not asleep and your cells are not rejuvenating in that process with the mind racing. Because when you lay down, all the distractions are gone, your mind kind of wanders sometimes. So what tip do I have for that person? Because believe me, my mind is always calculating and strategically setting up something. I have a pad by my bed and I call it my love notes. So if there's a thought that's going over and over in my mind, I'm like, oh no, let me get the thought out. I'll just write it down. And so when I wake up in the morning, and it could be just, an appointment that I have the next day, but I'm thinking about it as I'm laying there asleep, but I write it down and it's off my mind. I get rid of it. It's out there.
Love,
So I can again be at total peace.
I love that idea. And again, these are all things that are so simple, but we never think
Yes.
of them. I have a friend, Tina, who struggles with this and she doesn't sleep well. I'm like,
Yeah.
why? And I think I sleep fairly well.
Good.
In the last couple of months, better. I've been mindful to make sure I sleep better.
Better is good, Steve.
And I've said to her, like, why, what is going on? Like, why can't you, fall
Yeah.
asleep? Well, she'll wake up and she goes, because my mind is racing and I'm thinking about things. What are you thinking about? And
Yeah.
it can be, I don't want to say the littlest thing. I don't want to minimize anything for any,
Right.
to them, it's important. But she'll say, yeah, I'm thinking about tomorrow. I have to take my daughter to
Yes.
volleyball practice and then I have to
Yes.
do this and I have to do that. So, and why are you, it's tomorrow.
Right.
Live in the present. But
Right.
writing it down will give you peace of mind to know that
Yes.
I'm not going to forget it. It's on the pad. I wrote it.
Right.
Now it's out of the way. Now I can go to sleep. Well, I'm going to share that with her.
Please do. Please do. So, it's just all of these little wisdom tidbits that we can incorporate in our daily lives that really make a significant difference
Sure.
over the long haul of things. And I'm also an author and I've written several books. And how I really got into this quote unquote mental health space is because my son joined the Marine Corps, and when he had joined, we were not in active war at the time, but of course 9/11 happened, He comes back. He was there pretty much during that first tour, about 9 months, and came back, and we had a huge celebration for him. I was in the restroom with one of my girlfriends there, and she says, Million, have you looked at Jerome's eyes? And I'm like, what do you mean, have I looked at my son's eyes? I'm like, he's back from war. He's got all his body parts. And she says, no, I need you to look at your son's eyes and tell me what you see. Oh my God. I walk outside of the restroom. I go up to my son, and I've always called him Champion since he was born. He's my firstborn. And I said, Champion, give mom another hug, because I've always been a huggy feely with my kids. And I looked at his eyes and I was like, oh my God, I don't even know who that person is in there. And that was the opening, the creation of a path where I winded up writing a book titled Military Mom on a Mission, an Advocate for Mental Health, because of what my son suffered. 6 weeks after he got out of the military, he had a full breakdown. So we went through hell and back. And at the time, I was back in school getting my psychology degree in entrepreneurism, because at the time I was vice president of a chamber of commerce. And so I winded up changing my major to psychology so I could really come alongside my son and really understand some of the behaviors and the mindset and, people that are struggling, with mental disorders. And when they took him over to the hospital and the psychiatrist evaluated him, they come out and they're telling us he's got PTSD, severe psychosis, schizophrenia. And I'm like, oh my God, hold on, doctor. Wait, whoa. This is a whole lot you're giving me, like you're running down a menu. Wait, let me process what you're saying to me. Give me a minute to just cope with what you just said. And so that began my whole journey, where I'm now, I've become this mental health coach. And so to really understand the behaviors that people are dealing with, the disorders that people are dealing with. And even right now, Steve, as I'm speaking to you, but the past 8 years, my son has been phenomenal. He's done well, lived on his own, the whole 9 yards. And he goes to therapy like 3 times a week. He's been on heavy meds. When we went through all this in the beginning, we went through about 17, 20 different meds to see which scenario was correct for him. I mean, it's a lot. But we got through it, and he's actually gone on several book tours with me throughout the country. So it was phenomenal the past 8 years. He's been taking his meds. Well, right now, as I speak to you, he has spiraled all the way down. I've had to go to Los Angeles, deal with the Veteran Medical Evaluation Team, deal with the Los Angeles Police Department to take him in to get. He's been off his meds for about 2.5 months, which is dangerous for him or anyone else that are on those type of, psychotic meds. And it is not a good thing, and I've been
sorry.
back and forth with the LA Police Commission. I've even contacted the governor's office. I am one that I'll keep climbing and doing whatever I need to do. And so in the way the laws are written now, it is tough. So I'm actually in conversation with a friend of mine who's a congressman in California. He's going to help me get before Congress because, our country we've swayed this way and then we go this way. We don't ever come somewhere in the middle, which is a sad situation, because in the middle, you kind of create more of a balance. Since the Breonna Taylor situation, and the cops ran in and kind of went before whatever happened there. But so now they will not bust in a door at all. My son knows how to isolate himself. So we've had a hard time getting them out of the house so we could get him the help. I had power of attorney over him back in North Carolina, where we lived at the time when he joined. But because for 8 long years, he was phenomenal, Never thought we'd come back to see this day. So now the family, we're back in this situation.
Mm.
And it's so sad because now they're afraid to do anything almost.
It is for a parent dealing with a child with mental health issues.
Let me tell you.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I think things happen for a reason. And I want to throw something to you. Have you tried the DNA test for medication?
No.
So
Oh,
there are some
oh, oh,
GeneSight is the company. All I'm going to say here, I'm not endorsing
yes.
them, but all I'm going to say,
I understand.
I have experienced it with loved ones. I've experienced it with friends. There are
Yes.
doctors that say, "Yeah, you know what? I don't really know. Take it with a grain of salt." All I can tell you is medications that didn't work for people I know closely, it was on the list of the gene test, and there's a green, a yellow, and a red. Either they were in the red or they were in the yellow, meaning that it doesn't work with your chemistry. And
Ah,
the test is sometimes covered by insurance, but GeneSight, as I learned, even if it isn't, it will never pay more than $300 for the test, and all it is a cheek swab, and it has to be done by a doctor. So
bless you is all I can say. Okay.
uh,
Because
it's
I've looked up so much stuff, and you've heard of TMS, where that's non-invasive, that's the transcranial um,
yes,
meditative stimulation, is it?
I
Yeah,
think
I think that's the term for it. So we're looking at all type of things, but he spiraled so bad now. And this is the sad thing about it. It started out very innocently. He like forgot to take a couple of his meds a couple of nights. This is how it started. And he's like, Mom, because we always talk. So he's like, Mom, you know what? I forgot to take my meds a couple of nights and I just feel so much better. I have so much more clarity of thought. I can think better. I'm not as lethargic as I've been. And oh my God, I feel so much better. Now, I said, Jerome, champion, let's be careful with that. I hear you. However, I would prefer that you go to your doctor.
yep.
Let's have a conversation where maybe they reduce the milligrams, the dosage, rather than you not take it a couple of nights. And that's how this started.
And the worst thing you can do, especially on those medications, is end it completely. It's to be weaned off unless you're on a very low dose.
And he's not on very, and he wasn't
Yeah.
on a very, so yeah, it's,
And maybe again, things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. And
yes,
I have experienced this test, in the other just a day ago. Maybe the meds that he's on aren't working with his chemistry, and
yes.
pivot over to the ones that are in the green. Again, some doctors say, I don't believe that test, but you know what?
Oh,
In
no. Steve, trust me, I am that girl. So thank you so very much. You cannot even imagine how excited and grateful and thankful all at the same breath that I am here with you connecting and receiving this information because believe me,
what before we're done, I am going
yeah,
to off air here. I'm going to connect you with the person at that company. And
awesome.
we got nothing to lose. It's not even a blood test. It's like,
Exactly.
here's
Exactly.
$200. I'll pay for it. Just get it done.
Everything to gain. Everything to
Yes.
gain.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wow, we pivoted in a direction we weren't planning on going in, but you know what? This is all so important in terms
It
of
is.
the mental health situation in the United States, especially connected to our military, especially connected to COVID, especially connected to our children and self-care being so
Yes.
important. And you said something before, on Saturday mornings when you do your thing, and you do your, almost like a spa thing,
Right.
with that, glass of wine or that coffee. Gratefulness. We could do a whole half hour on being grateful. And one of the things
Yes.
I always say is like, I'm grateful in the morning for my cup of coffee. I'll stop by a convenience
Yes.
store, wherever. I'll grab that cup of coffee, and it's just like that's my me to me treat. You made it to another day,
Yes.
and you're intentional in setting it, your goals for the day. Here's your cup of coffee. Enjoy that, sir. And it's
Yes.
$4 done. Uh,
Absolutely.
the little things make a big difference.
They
Uh,
do.
how do we find you? How do we find you?
Well, you can find me, Steve, multiple ways. I even tell people, just Google the name Millionaire Williams, and it's MILLIONHEIR-Williams. If you just Google me, you'll get everything that you've seen that I've brought to the world, because I am that servant leader. But my website is www.effectuallifecoaching.com. Or if you want to reach me by phone as well, 661-341-0730. I'm on Instagram, Millionaire Mindset. And so I'm out there, people, globally. Let's talk, let's connect, let's make it happen. Let's get you to a phenomenal life. Because believe me, as a mother, having to deal with this with my son, I should not even be smiling on this podcast today. But with that being said, you have to understand it's your personal empowerment, your mental mindset that sets the stage that whatever you're confronted with, whatever adversity that you're dealing with, whatever trauma you're dealing with, get the help, get the support, and get through to the process, because there is a way out of it. Don't stay stuck and think that there are no answers and no solutions. There's an answer to whatever you're dealing with. Let's make it happen. Call me.
I have to believe with what you're dealing with, dealt with, and all of that, you wouldn't be able to do it with such efficiency and clarity unless you practice self-care.
You are absolutely correct.
Wouldn't be able to happen. And how do I know that? I didn't. And people say to me sometimes in my journey, how are you dealing with that? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I started realizing you got to take, and I'm not good at self-care. I'm getting better, but
Right.
It's the key. Thank you so much, Million, for being here. You're a breath of fresh air, and you're not a self-care guru. You're a self-care warrior.
See, now you're going to make me change things. Nothing but love for you, Steve. Oh my God. I love it. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. And
it's been an honor.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.